So we got like 3 releases that are coming out on the 21st that I got sent to check out, and I'm going to talk to you about it. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing 3 new titles that are coming out on the 21st of this month, so in just a few days, that you might want to pick up for yourself, and they are completely different from one another, completely different genres. We got a documentary, we've got like a movie that took like 40 years to make, and we even have a new one that is finally getting a release on Blu-ray for the first time ever. MVD Entertainment sent these out to me to check out, and they usually give me a good array of different things, and I think at least one of these you'll want to get for yourself. All the links to everything will be down below, so you can pick it up there. I don't know that there's anywhere to watch these online yet because they're just now coming to physical release, so let's get into it. First up, we have Dark Sanctuary, which this is a movie that I am a lot closer to than I realized. I thought this was like something about the church, the band, and then I realized it's actually a documentary about a club that I actually played at with my band. So this is Dark Sanctuary, called The Story of the Church, which is a place in Dallas, Texas that had run from the 90s all the way to 2020. But randomly, MVD sent this one out to me, and I'll try to explain the best that I can. In Dallas, Texas, there was a place called The Church. It had a different name. It had gone through a bunch of different names, and this was a place that was where they did a lot of different types of music, including people like Paul Oakenfold, Kevin Key, Combi Christ, Voltaire. We got Frontline Assembly, BDSM parties, fetish balls. They had everything. And it was a really big eclectic spot for a lot of people that they called home. Now, I personally was able to actually play at this place because, as some of you may know, I'm in a band called Black Ops, or at least was. It's kind of defunct now, but I was the singer and producer, one of the producers. I toured around the United States with Aesthetic Perfection, XRX from Germany, and one of our best stops on the entire tour was this place, which was The Church. And let me tell you, man, the place was beautiful, but there is a story behind it that is really interesting that they tell in this documentary. If you are part of any kind of scene, will really kind of pull at your heartstrings a little bit, because a lot of these places for alternative, goth, industrial, BDSM, all that kind of stuff is kind of like a nice place to go to not feel like you have to be judged. Being a part of the scene in goth and industrial and all that, and going to my own here in Arizona was a big deal, and it feels like a home. And this really kind of tells the story of that from start to finish, from open to close, and then what's left afterwards in Dallas, Texas. And it's got a lot of different people that are talking on it. And so there's a really big memory there. And I remember just how welcoming the scene was there. They started dancing to our music immediately. And man, I really appreciate it. So this really kind of has a nice spot in my heart for this story. Now, for other people who are not a part of the scene, it may be interesting to take a look in and see what like the goth, industrial, alternative fetish scene is like, and what it's like for a lot of people, and how it's home for a lot of people. So I really like this one, but this was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. I wanted to see more though. Next, we have Feed, which, man, oh man, is this an interesting title from Unearthed Films. This one's coming out on the 21st as well. So like I said, the other one you can pick up on the link down below. This one, all of them are going to be down below. This one is a really interesting story. This is actually a movie from 2005, and it is a story that was directed by Brett Leonard, who did the movies Dead Pit, Lawnmower Man, Hideaway, Virtuosity, and many more. And this is also known as the "You probably shouldn't eat while watching this film" movie. You'll find out. So the story is about a cybercrime investigator who works for like Interpol. He goes and tracks down a man suspected of force-feeding women to death. And they do it online. It's this whole ring that's going on, and he goes out to another country to investigate it and gets caught up in this web of like crazy shit that's going on. And the guy who is force feeding these women to death is doing it on their behalf. Like, they want this to happen. So this is a movie that is taking relationships of all kinds, putting it against regular relationships, which we would consider normal, because force feeding someone to death is not exactly normal. I mean, these people, they really want to be force fed. There's this like weird sort of thing between the two people. They call them feeders and gainers. And it's a crazy story. The guy that's actually doing this to the women, like in a lot of ways in love with them, but also has some sort of issues and is a murderer. And so you find out a lot more that goes on there, but the guy who's investigating him isn't exactly nice either. So there's a nice sort of dichotomy going on here and similarities at the same time. It's shot very independently. This is not a big budget movie like Lawnmower Man or Virtuosity or any of that, but I think the story is actually pretty good. And I would say this is at least about a 7 or 7.5. You're going to have to taper your expectations as far as acting a little bit. It's not exactly perfect acting. There's some stuff going on in the film that feels like an exploitation film mixed with like a, I don't know, something like Seven. Remember that guy that like fed that guy until he died? Well, that's kind of like that. It's just on a more personal level, and it kind of delves into the relationship aspect of that guy and what his life is like, and the guy who's tracking him down, and kind of mixing the two. So it's kind of genius in that regard, but I didn't absolutely love the film. It's not a very comfortable film, and like I said, you don't want to eat food while watching it necessarily, because it's going to push the boundaries. There is definitely a lot of nudity in this film, and sex, and all kinds of crazy stuff, like to say the least. Now, if you buy this, you can pick up and get the cover for that. Same cover on this side, the disc inside here, a bunch of extras, which include a commentary by Brett Leonard, deleted scenes, a commentary with director Brett Leonard, alternative ending, which I didn't like so much. I like the original ending that they have for it. They have the US cut, so you can watch it without all the extra nasty stuff in it. Personally, why? But it's there. Additional deleted scenes, outtakes, final day interview with the director, interviews with Alex O'Loughlin, Jack Thompson, and producer Melissa Buford, feed in Philadelphia, the North American featurette, behind the scenes footage, infomercial, photo gallery, and original theatrical teaser. Because there's no way you could show this movie in a trailer. I mean, you can show parts of it, but there's just a lot, dude. But yeah, I actually kind of like this. I really thought it was pretty good, and some of you might actually love it. I know my buddy Chuck from Your Movie Guy said he absolutely loved this one, and I would say like it leans to a 7.5 for me, so could be higher for some of you. If you're not into exploitation, I'd say skip it, but coming out 21st, so pre-order and wish list it on the Amazon now. Next, we got Primevals, excuse me. And this is a 3-disc Blu-ray collection, which includes, because you've probably seen me do the review of this before, the actual movie that I did review, which is the completed version. They have a couple of different versions in here, like the David Allen version and the full 45-minute documentary with all the footage and everything that you will want to see about this movie. Narration by Jeffrey Combs in it, and is pretty damn good. I'd say I wish it was longer because it was that good. Now, if you're not familiar with this is a story that essentially was created by David Allen, who was director of a lot of different films, as well as a visual effects guy who did a lot of claymation and animation for just films everywhere that you've seen everywhere. Like The Howling, he did Willow, Ghostbusters 2, Puppet Master, Demonic Toys, Oblivion 1 and 2, Freaked, and literally so much more. The Equinox, remember that movie? He was a part of that early on, and that's how early this movie was in his brain. From start to finish of concept, it took about 40 years. When they started working on it, they came across troubles along the way. that caused it to not get made. And I would highly recommend it to people who are like into like movies like Jason and the Argonauts, any kind of fantasy claymation movies from back in the day that, you know, combined live action with claymation. This story is awesome. And if you have a soft spot for that in your life or in your memories or in your nostalgia, this is going to hit that spot really hard. Essentially about a group of explorers that are going out to the wilderness to find this Yeti that they want to try to take a picture of and prove that it exists. And they get into some deeper, crazier stuff about an ancient civilization that may be otherworldly, and it gets pretty wild as it opens up. Now, the style of the film is done in a very like old school way. It was written like it was made for the 60s kind of way, you know, and the acting kind of reflects that, even though they recorded it in the 90s. So, and then finished it up just recently. You know, David Allen actually passed away in 1999, so this was like a movie that was like his big thing, and he never even got to finish it. So some of his associates and other people who were involved, like Full Moon, because they were the ones that were going to fund this originally, they ran out of money and now put it back together to finally finish this entire thing off. And I say kudos. I love when movies get brought back out finally and restored. These two different versions, they're a little different. This is the one that I saw. This is the David Allen version. So they kind of add some different stuff in it. It's a little bit longer. I didn't really watch the whole thing, but I just saw enough to kind of get a taste of it. And I did watch the entire, you know, documentary about this. But if you like fantasy films, I would say highly recommend this one and get it for yourself. If it's not your cup of tea, maybe watch it online or something like that. Definitely give this one a whirl, because a movie that took 40 years to make, 30 years to develop, and so many stopping points in between to get it made and it's finally out is an achievement. And I think that's kind of part of history in a lot of ways. It's not just for Full Moon, but for the industry and for an art that is kind of making a comeback in some ways with animation. You know, we got stop motion, we had Bad God, and so many other things are kind of popping up now. But I gave it a 7.5 before, and I would say it's about that or more. Like all three of these releases, they're coming out on the 21st, so you can pick it up or wishlist it down below to save it for later. But I don't know how long the 3-disc is going to stay, probably for a good amount of time. But if you're a big fan, I wouldn't wait. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you, MVD, for sending all of these out. All of these movies like hit pretty good. So if you're looking to collect some pretty interesting stuff, highly recommend picking it up. But thank you all for allowing me to check these films out. I really greatly appreciate it. Have you guys heard of these? Did you watch any of these? Were you excited for these releases to come out? And are you going to pick up any of these releases? I would love to hear about your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for coming by, and as always, long live the void.